Welcome to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, the podcast where strategy meets street smarts in the world of B2B selling. In today's episode, Sean and Kevin tackle one of the most common and costly mistakes in sales, a broken funnel that's either too simple to be useful or too complex to be manageable. You'll hear why aligning the stages of your sales effort with the buyer's journey is the key to driving real revenue, not just logging activity. Plus, they'll walk you through how to audit your funnel to uncover gaps and missed opportunities visually. If you're ready to stop guessing and start closing, stay tuned. This episode is packed with insight you can act on today.
So for those of you that know me, this is Sean, and thank you for coming back to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. You know that my business is helping companies fix their processes so they can get more revenue, so they can build a more profitable and sustainable company. So when I go into a client, they usually have problems. They usually aren't achieving their goals. They're usually not growing as fast as they want to, hitting the targets they want to, whatever. And the first thing I do, or one of the first things I do, is I evaluate their current pipeline. I evaluate where they're at. And it's not unusual for me to say, how in the world can you actually manage all this? Because it just doesn't make sense for your business. I usually say that to myself. I usually don't say that to the owner of the company, but I do allude to it to the owner of the company because it's not unusual for their stages of their sales cycle to be something like, I found somebody who will talk to me. I found somebody who will talk to me, i.e. lead. I talked to them. In theory, that means I did discovery. I dug into their details. I qualified them. I made sure they were the right ideal client profile. And then I gave them a proposal, which meant that I probably had some type of event that qualified and validated that my product was the right product for them before I gave them that proposal. I probably talked to the economic buyer, the person's going to actually pay for this and get the value out of it and get the ROI for buying the product or the service. And then I gave them a proposal. So I said all of the things that should be going on in the sales analysis, the funnel development, the where are you in your sales cycles, but that's not what they had in their CRM. They had, I found somebody who will talk to me. I talked to them and I gave them a proposal. And so I asked the owner, the sales manager, the leaders of the company, on those big buckets that you had, do you have any idea where these deals are in the smaller buckets after I explain all the things that have to happen in all those steps? And they'll go, no, don't have any idea. And so when we talk about fixing the funnel, the first thing you have to do is describe, well, what does the funnel look like for this business? What should it be? What are the things that we should take a customer through as we evaluate them and they evaluate us? What are the things that we need to talk about along the way? How long does that take? How hard is it? Who needs to be involved in those conversations from our side, from their side? How are we going to go through this process? Now you could say, I have a superhero salesperson that's going to do all that work and is going to figure it all out. But let's be honest, it shouldn't be just the superhero salespeople. And I hope you do have superhero salespeople. And I hope you are a superhero salesperson. But even superhero salespeople like to have a team. The Avengers became a team, not just Iron Man. You need to have a team. Spider-Man can do it all by himself, but occasionally he likes to have a friend. Superman can do it all by himself, but occasionally he likes to have Batman along and Wonder Woman too. How do you build that team and how do you get all these things done? That's the part of building the funnel that I'd like to talk to you about today. But before I talk anymore, Kevin, what do you think? Did I blow it when I was talking about Iron Man?
I've never been a superhero movie fan. They were never the things that I sought out. So I just laugh inside going, man, I don't get all the references. I've heard the names in the comic books. They were just never my cup of tea. So I was more interested in other types of movies and characters, but to each their own, right? There's a reason there's chocolate and vanilla. But on fixing the funnel, I really appreciate the analogy of having a superstar, having stages defined, because some people in different industries have the opposite of the 3 stages. They have 35 stages, maybe it's 15 stages, but it's a lot of stages. And What those look is had first meeting, scheduled second meeting, delivered an email, followed up with the decision maker. They're very tactical. And what's funny is I say, does all those stages really fit well on one screen? Because if you're having to scroll back and forth on your CRM between stages looking for the right screen, it's really hard to manage. It's hard to get a holistic view on one page of where your sales process is or where you are in the sales process. So fixing the funnel starts just visually. Does it fit well on one sheet of paper? And that is often the linchpin to starting the success ball rolling. Because when you can see it on one page, then you can start to effectively think through what is the thing that has to happen. What is the event or conversation that needs to happen next to get a prospect from one stage out of that stage and qualified into the next stage. Every stage, you need to have activities that qualify a prospect into the next stage because you're qualifying fit for how you can serve them. They're qualifying you for how well you can serve them. So, stages. When you can see it all on one page, you can also see very quickly as a salesperson, leader, or owner, which stages are empty and which stages are full. I have been an early salesperson, I have been a maturing salesperson, and I have been a mature salesperson. In each of those stages, I get really excited. Sean, this is a little tell. I get really excited when I have a lot of late stage, high probability deals. Why? Because I'm coin operated as a salesperson, which we all should be at some level. But it means that I've got a lot of deals that I've done a good job of qualifying. But by and large, when salespeople have a lot of late stage deals that are high probability, it often corresponds to an underweighted early stage, which means in practical speak and behavioral speak, we've spent a lot of time and effort on deals in the pipeline and not a lot generating new. We've said things like, oh, that's marketing's job to send us leads. And oh, the leads are this and leads are that. Because it's not. If you go back and talk to any CMO, go listen to our conversations with Amy for the last few weeks, late February, early March, where we talked about how to fill your pipeline intentionally, strategically, and tactically. What is the role of content and collateral versus conversation and referral? This is how we not only move from chasing butterflies, go back a few episodes and listen to chasing butterflies versus building a garden, to preparing for the next quarter, filling your funnel at the top end. Everybody has a leads problem. You either don't have enough or you've got too many that you can't process, or the ones you've got are bad, or the ones you've got are good and you don't know how to prioritize them. There's all kinds of leads issues there. But when we have the sales stages tuned well to the buyer journey, not our desire, the buyer journey, it's really actionable and informative for leadership as well as yourself. It helps you be that good time manager that we talked about in the last episode. When you have your stages well defined, they not only open the relationship, they define the nurturing stages, the scoping stages, the proposal stages, and the closing stages. I've just listed 5 right there. You can have, and this, Sean, I'm looking at you going, hey, you're probably going to have some disagreement with this. I'm actually a fan of oftentimes having 2 sales pipelines. One is a leads pipeline. So what are you doing from a marketing qualification to sales qualification versus a sales pipeline, which is an active discussion about solving problems. Another way to say that is a budgetary pipeline versus a sales pipeline. If you're working with a big capital project, somebody may be asking you for pricing on a solution that is 2 years out because it's got to get onto next year to go through the sales process. So you don't want to overweight and mix up your sales pipeline, your stages, with deals that aren't going to happen for 2 years. You need to keep them top of mind in a pipeline, but it's a budgetary pipeline. And you also don't need to allocate a lot of internal resources to very specific numbers when they need a range, because you're going to have a price increase next year and the following year. So you need ranges. Technology. 2 years ago, we weren't talking about AI. Now we're talking heavily about AI, and that changes the way services are delivered. Sean, am I way out of the ballpark you play in when we're talking about different pipelines?
No, actually, I've had clients that have 3 or 4 pipelines. Sometimes they're product oriented. Sometimes it is, especially if it's product oriented, it may have a different sales cycle. It may have a different time in each one of them. There may be different value that we have to present in each one. For some companies, it just makes sense. I have no problem with multiple pipelines. I do have a problem with multiple pipelines being set up if you don't know how to set up pipelines, because now you just made it really confusing. And when I do it for my clients, I spend a lot of time trying to make sure that it doesn't get confusing, that it's obvious which deals go in what pipeline. If the pipelines have to feed each other, because sometimes that makes sense, I know how to do that. Doing multiple pipelines is almost not for the faint of heart, right? So really think through it a lot if you're going to do it. Get some advice, hire a consultant. You don't have to hire Sean. You don't have to hire Kevin. There's lots of really smart people out there that can help you go through this process a little bit, but that's important. And I don't mind multiple pipelines because of that. I think it makes sense, especially for renewals. If you are in the software industry and you have a renewal process because they have to pay the renewal every month or every year, that's probably a different pipeline than the salesperson going out there trying to find the new customer that hasn't signed yet. Yeah, you definitely have to have multiple pipelines to run your company, but that is a company issue. Salespeople, you probably should be in one, maybe two pipelines. So let's talk a little bit about filling the funnels and fixing the funnels and doing all that. So you've got your stages all set up. Let's just assume you got that figured out. You got all your stages filled out. You got them in the right spot. You can understand what the transition between all those stages are. You understand how much you should work in each one. What's the expectations of success at each stage? How do you fix it? How do you make it better? How do you fill it? Right? So if I'm looking at my dashboard, and by the way, that was a hint, all CEOs, all sales leaders need to have a dashboard. Most salespeople should have a dashboard as well. But as you're looking at your dashboard and you're trying to figure out where am I going to spend my time next week, not this week, next week, where am I going to spend my time? You need to look at those things that are off. So a good funnel should look like a funnel, like literally by either by deal, numbers of deals, or by revenue. You can do it both ways as well. Does it look like a funnel? Meaning earlier in the process, the farther you are from the close of the deal, it should be pretty wide. And then it should get slower. Slowly, it should get tighter. And just like a good funnel, the last 2 or 3 stages should probably almost be a straight line. You should have about the same number of deals all the way through the last 1 or 2 or 3 stages, just like a funnel does, because you really don't want to lose any more when you're at that stage. You'll lose a little bit, right? There'll be a couple things that are there, but you're also going to maybe change the price on this deal because you've now really fine-tuned the project and whatever. So there'll be some changes in the size depending on if you're doing this by number of deals or by revenue. But those last 2 or 3 stops, yeah, it should be pretty much the same. You shouldn't lose, at least not in a big way. You should lose early on because you threw those customers out because they weren't good fits, and they threw you out because it wasn't a good fit. And you didn't lose any sleep over that. You didn't cry about it because the reality is, yeah, it's not a good fit. The guy was looking for a car and I was selling trucks. Oh, okay, then it just doesn't matter. So don't worry about that. But you really should be looking at your pipeline in your scorecard, in your dashboard, and make sure that it does have the proper shape. I'm a big believer in this, that if you have the proper shape of your funnel, and it actually looks like a funnel, then you are more likely to have enough deals in early stages that you can make in the late stages. You are more likely to have choices. You are more likely to hold your price high because you have a pipeline. You have deals out there. So just do this simple exercise. Take all your deals and map it out. Just do it by number and do it by volume. If you don't know the volume of those early deals, you really do. People tell me this all the time. I don't know how big this deal is going to be. Oh, come on. You do too. You have some clue. You have a pretty good guess. You know that this customer is going to be buying for 2 people, or this customer is going to be buying for 500 people. You may not know 500 versus 550. You may not know 2 versus 3, but you definitely know 2 versus 500. So put some average deal sizes in there, put some average transaction costs in there, and map it out. And make sure that your pipeline looks like a funnel. And if it's not, figure out why. And I can't tell you what you're doing wrong for this stage, that stage right now, but that's why I'm just an email away, and so is Kevin. In fact, if you go to our podcast notes, our show notes, depending on which tool you're using to listen to this podcast, you can open up the show notes. You'll see at the bottom how to get a hold of us. So reach out, ask us a question. Say, hey, Kevin, hey, Sean, how in the world do I fix this part of my funnel? Give us a call. We'll be happy to give you some quick advice. Maybe you need some more help after that, and that's perfectly fine too. But we'll give you a quick answer. We'll give you some things to think about. We'll be happy to have a 30-minute conversation with you and set that up. And there's ways on our podcast show notes to get in touch with us to let us do that. Until next Tuesday at 4:30, have a good day. Thank you.
What a great episode, Sean and Kevin. I learned so much about the importance of designing sales stages that reflect the buyer's journey, not just a salesperson's wish list. It was eye-opening to hear how too many teams either over-engineer their funnel with dozens of tactical steps or oversimplify it into 3 vague milestones. Kevin's reminder that a well-built funnel should fit on a single sheet of paper and reveal where your deals are stalling was a powerful takeaway for any sales leader aiming for clarity and control. When your stages are built to move a prospect forward with purpose, you stop managing activity and start managing progress. And don't forget the significant actionable item from this episode: audit your funnel visually. Pull your deals by stage and ask a simple question. Does this look like a real funnel? If it doesn't, you either lack top-of-funnel activity or misallocate effort on opportunities that won't close. This is a crucial exercise that will show you, at a glance, where to invest your time next week and prevent you from scrambling to hit your number at the end of the quarter. Do it today, before the whirlwind of meetings and emails push it off your radar. If you ever need help improving your sales process, elevating your sales team, or just getting your company growing again, Sean and Kevin are here to help. You'll find their contact info in the show notes, along with a quick sales effectiveness assessment to see how your team stacks up. Until next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, happy selling.